Nikki Haley supported Rhino Paul Ryan's 2011 plan to destroy Medicare, the same plan that led the Democrat ads, which was a disastrous ad, showing Republicans wheeling Granny off the cliff. Do you remember that? That was Paul Ryan throwing Granny off the cliff. We're not doing that. We're not taking care of our grannies like that. And speaking of grannies, tomorrow I have a funeral for the mother who was a great woman of Melania, our First Lady.
So that was Donald Trump in New Hampshire last night, making quite an abrupt transition from attacking Nikki Haley to mentioning a funeral he'll be attending today after spending the afternoon in court. In New York, Trump is in New Hampshire delivering a particularly erratic speech. We're also learning that Trump may have a possible running mate in mind. According to an exclusive NBC News report, the former president is eyeing Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik as his potential vice president. Stefanik was the first member of Congress to endorse the former president this election cycle. The Trump loyalist backed his efforts to overturn the 2020 election and filed multiple ethics complaints about the judge overseeing Trump's legal cases. Last month, during a dinner at Mar-a-Lago, Trump allies mentioned Stefanik following her questioning of 3 university professors at a hearing on anti-Semitism. Trump reportedly nodded in approval of the VP's suggestion, telling guests, quote, "She's a killer." Stefanik announced she will campaign with Trump in New Hampshire tomorrow. Joining us now, national political reporter for Politico, Meredith McGraw. Meredith, good to see you this morning. You've been covering this campaign so very closely, and your new piece for Politico focuses on Trump's escalating attacks on Nikki Haley. So talk to us about what Trump team is telling you about trying to, frankly, finish off Haley in New Hampshire, because if Haley can't win there, this race might be all but over.
Yeah, Donald Trump and his campaign have been really working, as you said, to finish off Nikki Haley in New Hampshire, as his former UN ambassador keeps saying that this is a 2-person race between her and Donald Trump. 2 polls that came out yesterday in the state of New Hampshire showed that Donald Trump still has a pretty sizable lead there in the state, with Nikki Haley coming in second. But he has really escalated his attacks on her in recent days. Last night at his rally in New Hampshire, he really hammered on her record. He talked about what she was like as his UN ambassador. He talked about her record on immigration and Social Security. And even as he's assailing her at these rallies, he's also really taking an aim at her on social media, where some of his attacks have been pretty personal. He's talked about her given first name from her Indian immigrants. He's suggested a conspiracy theory that she's ineligible to run because of her parents were immigrants when they came here and weren't U.S. citizens yet. And he's also posted memes just yesterday comparing her to Hillary Clinton. So he's really making an aggressive move to try to make sure that he has a sizable win next week in New Hampshire.
So let's be clear, Haley is eligible to run for president.
Yes.
We'll fact check that. So how is Haley responding? I mean, we talked to Natasha Korecki earlier in the show, and she said that some Republicans have voiced concern that Haley's campaign schedule in New Hampshire has been pretty light. She's not attacking Trump as hard as they feel like she needs to. What's your sense as to what these next 5 days or so could look like for Haley in the Granite State?
Well, Nikki Haley has been fact-checking Trump when she's been talking to voters there in New Hampshire. She did that yesterday. I'm trying to correct the record when it comes to immigration and her stance on Social Security and Medicare. And her campaign yesterday, before Trump took the stage, released a video that ticked through all the times Donald Trump has complimented her and her role in his administration. And a Haley supporting super PAC had billboards outside of Trump's rally yesterday, running ads and talking about Trump. So they are pushing back, and she has faced some criticism there in the state of New Hampshire for having a schedule that some view as lighter. But we did find out yesterday that Nikki Haley's dad has been sick, and so she went down to South Carolina to spend time with him. And, you know, Donald Trump going to his mother-in-law's funeral today, I think these moments kind of just remind all of us that at the end of the day, these are all human beings, too, in addition to being presidential candidates running around these states.
Yeah, that's certainly a good point. And also, there's been some tough winter weather in New Hampshire as well that has hindered the campaigning. Meredith, let's talk about it's still pretty early in the process to be thinking VP, but Trump's, as we just reported, has been chatting about some candidates. There's a sense among some Republican circles that he'll likely pick a woman. Kristi Noem, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Carrie Lake, Elise Stefanik, all possibilities. What's the latest you've heard about the running mate process?
So it's so interesting. Last week, Donald Trump was asked about his running mate at the Fox News town hall he had in Iowa, and he said that he knows who he's going to pick. It seemed to take his advisors by surprise, but Donald Trump's statement there certainly raised eyebrows and suggests that, maybe he really does have a specific name in mind. There has been a lot of talk about him potentially picking a woman to run with him on the ticket as part of an effort to maybe get some more suburban female voters to come out for him. And, Stefanik would make sense as a potential choice. She's shown that she's a great fundraiser. She obviously has a lot of connections on Capitol Hill and really raised her profile nationally after her appearance with the university presidents earlier this year. It would make sense that she would be on the short list. We had reported before Christmas that Trump had been asking similar things about Nikki Haley. It's hard to imagine now with the way he's attacking her that she would still be under consideration. But it is something that it seems like Trump is on, a VP is on his radar, and he's been asking people questions like, what do you think of Nikki? And according to the NBC News report, what do you think of Elise Stefanik?
And certainly Trump in the past has done a very abrupt 180 about people when they start praising him. So we shouldn't rule out Nikki Haley. I guess if suddenly Haley were to drop out of the race and start endorsing Trump, she could be back in the mix. National political correspondent for Politico, Meredith McGraw, thank you. We really appreciate it. And